Welcome to Chik Chat, the podcast where the girl with many titles talks about life, the good and the bad, and everything around it. We're going to sit, chat, share life stories and experiences, from business to relationship. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Chik Chat podcast. So today we are back with video, hopefully. I hope this is going to work. And for those of you that just listen via the normal podcast channels, hi, today I'm working from my office. First time I've actually recorded from here. Hopefully this will be kind of the permanent location, but anyway, we'll see. So I hope you are all doing very well this week. It has been, another interesting week. We are getting into February, happy new month. And I can't believe January's already done. It's gone so quick. But yeah, I suppose that's how the whole year ends up going, doesn't it? Anyway, we will get straight into this podcast, and in this podcast I want to talk about basically 3 tips I've learned from working with millionaires. See, right, this is going to come back later because my mindset is changing, and I am going to be a millionaire, and I'm going to be a millionaire this year. And the reason this started was because, so one of my first calls I had with one of my clients, he talked to me about how my mindset, especially around money, needs to change because my limiting beliefs are what stop me. And then obviously you've seen people that have been on the podcast, like Lucy, who's a coach, and again brought up me and my mindset. We were talking to Josh, who again was talking about my mindset and self-sabotaging. I've had loads of different people on this podcast where you can very clearly see kind of how we see life sometimes and how we stop ourselves. And I am lucky enough to be in a position where, working for myself, even whilst things are hard, at least I can turn around and say, okay, well, if I need to earn an extra X amount this month, I can go and find a new client. And that helps me, rather than if I was in a 9 to 5 working certain amount of hours a week, my chance to earn money wouldn't change. When I sat and thought about that and thought about how lucky I am, I started to think, well, actually, my mindset really does need to change if I want to see a big difference in my future. Now, I am what you'd call a lifestyle entrepreneur, so I don't want a huge business that makes millions and millions of pounds that just stresses me out. I want something that makes me comfortable, a business that allows me to travel, to see my family when I want to see them, to go and travel wherever I want to go and travel, to take time off when I need to take time off, to plan for my future knowing that I'm going to keep myself secure rather than having to rely on someone else. And honestly, even saying this right now, so I had a call with one of my coaches, Lucy, last week that was on the podcast, and she was saying to me that someone had also said the same thing to her, but what if you've achieved what you were supposed to achieve in this life and you just need to be excited about it? And I was like, what? As someone that's been to therapy for a long time, working on like being a perfectionist and again having high function anxiety and depression, and how that pushes you to just constantly be looking for the next thing to do and to never celebrate the little things, that sent me into the massive existential crisis. But it did make me think again, and it made me think the reason I started this 3 tips I've learned from working with multi-millionaires, I started that on TikTok because I woke up one day and I just decided, do you know what, I do keep stopping myself. There are things that I can achieve in my life that are actually, if I focus on gratitude more and plan properly, if I do the things that I know that I'm not always the best at doing, I actually look at my finances, look at the things that scare me, how far-fetched would it be for me to become a millionaire? So this is a journey that we're on, and it's been doing really well on TikTok, so I thought, I'd share it with you guys. So before we get started, what is my tip of the week? Actually, my tip of the week at the moment is to remind myself that we don't all have the same 24 hours in the day, and me last week versus me this week, we don't have the same 24 hours in the day. And do you know what? It's not TMI, because I feel like people do need to understand what it's like to run a business, and as a woman as well. And even if it's not just as a woman, running a business and working, we're in the same position. So I was on my period for 3 weeks, and then came off and had a few days where I felt normal, and then last week felt like absolute rubbish, and I thought it was to do with work. And then I came on this week and I was like, oh, So it turns out that, again, that was just my body. So yeah, my reminder is I don't always have the same 24 hours, and I need to kind of try to understand my cycle a bit more so that I can plan how I do work better. And the tips I'm going to give actually have been a part of that. So getting straight into it, number one, I have mindset. So I've already touched on this and how people have pointed out that my mindset hasn't always been of a risk taker. I think when I was young, when I started Mostly Muffins and I was going through uni, working, running the business, I had so much security that I could take risks. It didn't matter. And then obviously once I moved to Northern Ireland, bought my house, that completely changes. The amount of risk I'm willing to take for my life, for business, isn't the same anymore, because am I willing to lose my house over something that I could have potentially avoided? No. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be a risk taker at all. And I think I've also realised that when I've talked to family members that I am still a bit more of a risk taker, because I genuinely believe that it's like I'm going to sort out my own life in terms of any generational curses, in terms of just living a life that's on my terms, the way I've been setting boundaries, the relationships I've got, all that is mindset. But the way that I've learned it from the millionaires that I work with is that they believe that they can do anything, and they believe that all they need to do is plan properly. So if they believe they can do anything, they make sure that they sit and focus and have time where they will meditate, they will do things to empower themselves, to help themselves to learn. They surround themselves with the right types of people so that, again, if things are maybe a bit more difficult, they have a group of people that can turn around and say, yes, I completely understand where you're coming from. You've got, I get it, you've got support. And yeah, I think that's the one thing that I've admired the most, because these are people that have been through the worst of the worst. They've built themselves up from nothing. They are huge family people. There are a lot of things in terms of values that we have that are shared that, well, that's why I work with them, because I can definitely resonate with, maybe not where they are now, but that's where I want to be, but then definitely where they've been in the past and parts of where they are at the moment, because I think it's also a cycle. You never have everything sorted. Everything isn't just going to be perfect and stay perfect. Life's constantly changing. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly moving forward. So you start going through some of those cycles again, but their mindset never changes, because they realise that even when they're having a bad day, bad week, that's just a small period in time. Things will get better, things will work out, and they know how they're going to do it. Number two, they are so good at delegating, or they know that they're not good at delegating and they are really working on it. And it was really funny, because when I posted this on TikTok about delegation, I realised that I'd become really stressed out, and as I was talking about like my cycle, that like my body just felt completely drained, and I realised that actually I'd involved myself too much in my business. So within CF Marketing, we've got the business split so that we've got a multimedia artist that does a majority of the editing. We've got someone that does websites and SEO. We've got people that focus on YouTube, different socials, but different elements of what we do, copywriting and so on. And then I fall into that because I can do all of that. But my problem is when we go out and we look for new clients, because I'm the one that meets the new clients and is front facing, there's some of it that I'll just take on, because especially at the beginning, if I need to build a system to show them what they need to do, I will just start doing the work. But if I'm really enjoying that work, I will carry on doing it. But the problem there is, if I'm doing that work, I'm supposed to be the content creator for the business, and I'm supposed to be a content creator as an influencer for myself and for the clients that I'm working with in terms of influencer partnerships. So that 24 hours quickly changes, and what does that look like? It looks like me overexerting myself when I can't cope with doing it. It means that I'm lucky enough that G does cook all the time, but at the moment, like, he's injured, and it's not fair to expect him to cook all the time. That means that I'm looking to cook, and then on top of that, then there's a cleaning to do for the house, and G's very much the tidier and I'm supposed to be the cleaner. But when you look at all of that, trying to do that in a week on top of building a business, getting new clients, it becomes very stressful very, very, very quickly. And yeah, delegation's one of those things that, and what I do is with these clients, I look at the tips that they share and I think, well, I don't want to make those mistakes. I might as well just learn from them now and do better. And genuinely, I can see how my life is changing, because I went back and looked and thought, I am burnt out here. I took a social media detox. I went off Instagram altogether. I wasn't posting as much on TikTok. Wasn't using anything else, to be fair. and then realise that actually I have a whole team that I could be delegating to. Doesn't mean that I don't have to do the work, but there's some stuff that we've been working really hard at getting ahead in terms of some of our designs and what we're planning for some weeks and months. So rather than take us a step back and have us then playing catch up again, delegate to the people that are gonna do it. And I know that my job in the business and what I excel at is making sure that things are done correctly, but they are more than capable of doing what needs to be done. And this week has been one of those weeks where, so I spent all last week going back and looking through the systems, creating looms and videos and training again, just in case, because we've got a new team member as well. But just in case there were things that maybe were missing or just didn't make sense now we've got a new team member, because a lot of the team members I've got now, we've worked together for, Pia and Jonah, like at least coming up 2 years. Maiden started last year, and then Jen, is only new. So yeah, it's very easy to become complacent. And yeah, I quickly realised that I needed to get the systems recorded, the training recorded and so on. And this week it has made a massive difference. I was supposed to be travelling to London for a meeting, but then the strikes, Flybe went bust, loads of things happened, but it's like I've got an extra day to, well, I'm still going to obviously have to have my meetings that I was supposed to have today, but in terms of everything else I'm supposed to be doing, I've got an extra day that I didn't expect to have, and I'm like, oh great, I did half of my weekly to-do list, the important stuff, on Monday. Tuesday's normally like an admin day and I try not to do anything. That's supposed to be the day that I like recuperate, because I can't do that at weekends as much as I'd like to. And I normally do end up working, like I'm working at the moment 7 days a week, which has been another problem. But yeah, delegating's just, when it's done right, it's like, wow, this is great. So yes, number 2, delegate. And actually it's really funny because, like I said, so one of the things that I noticed was if I need to delegate, it's not just within my team. I need to do things at home that are going to make my life easier. And what could that be? So I got HelloFresh, like I said, to also help, because I hate thinking about what to cook. And being vegan, vegetarian, it's not as simple, because I'm used to eating meat and meaty foods. So to then start thinking about, like, unless I'm going to cook the same things for him all the time, which I don't want to be doing, yeah, that wasn't going to happen. So ordered HelloFresh, started with that last week. We're about to get our second order tomorrow. And it's just already made a massive difference. It's just made the week lighter. Like I've gone back, because I'm using that as content creation as well, I've gone back to enjoying cooking, because everything is set out for me. We decide a week before what we're going to be eating for the week. The food arrives and I go, okay, well, I'm going to cook this and this, or I'm going to do this and this is, I'm going to create this type of content with it. Or actually, no, I don't want to create content, I'll just take a picture and then talk about it. And happy days, that is done. I had what will be my new cleaner come over yesterday, and we had a chat just to see what we could do. And these are the things that I think for me are going to be non-negotiables. And like I said, G's the cook, so whilst he's ill, yes, we'll do this, but then after we've discussed what that would look like, and fair enough, if he wants to take that back on, we can do that however he wants. But when it comes to cleaning, I want things done a particular way. If I don't have the time to be cleaning the way that I want to clean and spend as much time as I normally would, then someone else is going to do it. They're going to help me, and I'm going to then be able to catch up on the things that I want to do and clear things out. Like the other week I cleared out my wardrobe and donated loads of stuff to One of the World Belfast, because it was something that's been on my list for ages. If me and you move in together, again, that's like stuff that we're gonna need to, I was going to need to have done, but yeah, would have just been slow. Whereas at the moment now, I know I can start to plan. I'm such a sucker for lists, but knowing that the cleaner's going to be there, we know what her tasks are going to be. I know what I then want to focus on each week in terms of each room, and yeah, it just makes me feel so good and less anxious. And the funny thing's been, since I've made these couple of changes, or these 3 changes, since last week, I'm still not sleeping very well. I still wake up at stupid times, but I've had a better quality sleep. I've had 2 nights this week where I haven't woken up and stayed awake for like a good hour, 2 hours. I've maybe started to wake up, realise I'm waking up, and then gone straight back to sleep, whereas before it'll be like an anxiety attack starting or something, where it's like the adrenaline shoots into my body and then I'm just awake, and it's like, okay, but how am I supposed to fall asleep? And then I found out that I have this thing, I can't remember what it's called, but so G has a really like vivid memory, and if you ask him to imagine things, he can imagine smells, sounds, sights, so on, but I'm not very good at imagining, so at the point where I'm trying to imagine sheep jumping backwards, counting down from 100 rather than just counting sheep the normal way, because trying to focus on doing that gets me so tired that normally it then makes me fall asleep, but I find it really hard to have that image. So yeah, even just the just you can tell my mind is just tortured. But yeah, just these few little things have made my quality of sleep slightly better this week. I'm not waking up feeling super anxious, and I just feel like I'm a bit more in control, and I can start planning ahead a little bit more and focus on the business and growing that more. So yeah, exciting. Number 2, delegate. Right, we're in the middle. So how am I doing this week? Well, I've kind of already touched on it. I'm doing better. Being a woman is frustrating. Can't change that, can't change my cycle, but yeah, all I can do is try to maybe benefit myself in knowing how that works in terms of like my feelings, my moods and so on. But yeah, there are certain things that I need to catch up with, and I want to get done. So I think I'm causing myself a bit of anxiety because I don't know, I just keep putting stuff off. But on the flip side, yeah, I feel a lot better, and mentally I'm doing okay. So yeah, number 3, what did I have? Oh yeah, number 3. Oh, they are really good at planning. Like all of my clients, the one thing that I noticed from the beginning of us working together is that even if there might be a little scatty in general in some areas, in terms of them knowing what needs to be done, why, and what they want out of their business and I suppose their life, they are so good. And again, going back to Josh's podcast where Josh talked about imagine the life that you want and what that's going to look like, and then work backwards. So like I said before I went viral on TikTok, I'd kind of started to look at that, but not properly. And then when I went viral, I looked at how that was changing the business and how much money could be made in the next few months. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe manifestation and lucky girl syndrome. And if you've not heard about lucky girl syndrome, this is definitely going on TikTok, but it's just about how you say to yourself, I'm so lucky everything works out for me, because you're focused on the positive things. If you focus on the negative things, you will constantly see negative things and you will have negative things happen to you. Whereas when you focus on positive things and your mindset is more positive, you will see the nicer things in life. Even if you're having a crap day, you will focus on the things that are positive. Like last week, the podcast didn't record the way I was expecting it to record, but that was okay because at least it recorded. Might not have had the video, but we got it out on the other platforms. But yeah, those little things in terms of them planning, I think this is where I'm now starting to see the bigger picture coming together like a jigsaw puzzle, in terms of, because they know how they want their lives to look like, they plan backwards. So if they know that they've got a goal for a year, they will look at that goal for a year. What does that look like in terms of quarters? What does that look like in terms of months? What does that look like in terms of weeks? And then what do you need to be doing day to day? So as I said, on a Sunday, I will create my to-do list. And when I create my to-do list, those are the 10 things that need to be done for the week. And if anything's not done, then I look back and go, well, why wasn't it done? And clearly I need to change something to make sure that I'm prioritising those things, as well as obviously other bits in between. And then I just saw a notification pop up then on my phone that this is why I need to put it away, and it completely threw me off. But yeah, anyway, so if you know what you're doing in terms of planning for like per day, there'll be other things that come in between, but at least there's an idea of where you want to be. You're not just hiding. And one of my things has been, especially in the business, just like I've had that for 2 years. I've run CF marketing for 2 years now, and I suppose I would spend more time burying my head in the sand and trying not to look too much at the finances because it would freak me out. But what I've learned is things always work out. I have survived for over 2 years now and had a team for over 2 years, so clearly there's something that I'm doing right. So this is where I looked at that and went, okay, well, actually, what do I want my life to look like? And like I said at the beginning, I want to be able to travel whenever I want, wherever I want, spend time with family. And a lot of those things I can do now on a limited budget, but I want the freedom to be able to say, okay, well, things might be a bit more expensive, but I still want to go away for a weekend. Yes, it might cost a few £100, but that's in the budget. Looking at investing, I want to increase what I'm investing because, again, I want my money to work for me. When I looked at like 9 to 5, and I don't want to go back to 9 to 5 because, like I said, I've got so many options in terms of being self-employed that I can make my life what I want it to be, and to be in that position where like I said, being in therapy and setting boundaries and looking at my life and starting to realise who I am, what I want out of life, what I want it to look like, the world is my oyster. And when you look at that and you look at planning doesn't become as scary, because so for example, I've said, okay, I'm going to make my first million this year. Well, how's that going to happen? That would be a very scary thought, and I'm so for delusional planning right now, because I'm starting to realise what I thought was delusional planning and manifestation isn't delusional. Because if you say, okay, I want to make £1 million in a year, and you start to break that down, what do my streams of income look like? I've got the agency, my work as an influencer, other things I want to get into this year, or I'm going to get into, like property. But these are things that, again, have been on my radar for a long time, things that I already do, and I just need to utilise those things more to get myself closer to that. And again, the more that my following grows, I can charge more. Each year my rates go up. Why? Because I've got another year of experience. I'm really good at what I do. Like I've said, I have looked at some of the work that we've been doing within the business, and like I said, I stepped into the business and was doing too much. Why? Because I have a huge skill set. If I have that skill set, I need to be charging for that as a consultant. I need to know my worth and work with clients that suit us as a business, that suit me as a person. So if I'm agreeing to work with people at a cheaper rate, there has to be a reason for that. If I'm not going to do that, then I'm going to value myself. And when people come to me and say, okay, well, I can't afford your rates, and try to like lowball me, I'm going to turn around and say, I really appreciate that, and if things change in the future, work away, come back to me. I have worked with enough people, enough brands right now to know that I do need to value myself more, and that's something that I definitely do need to work on. So like I said, that trying to make $1 million, even if I don't make that $1 million, what my goals were last year would have been way less than that, but I'm going to smash the goals that I've had last year that I missed. I am going to surpass those. I might not make $1 million, but I will still make enough to have a really comfortable lifestyle and put things in place that put me in a position to look at wanting to settle down, to know that if I'm ill, the business is still paying me, to know that if anyone in the business is still ill, I can put things in place to make sure that the people I work with are going to be looked after. We might all be freelancers and VAs and so on, but that doesn't mean that, like again, I'm realising that I get to build a business that I want. A business that looks the way I want it to look. So that means I can take things from the corporate world and go, okay, yeah, that's fine. I want sick pay, I want maternity leave and so on for my team, because those things benefit us as a team. I don't want to lose those people. I want them to be comfortable. I want them to know that they are going to have jobs when they come back. I want them to know that they're going to be looked after when they come back. And yeah, all of a sudden things start to work out and you go, oh, maybe I can do it. So yeah, planning. Unless you plan, and I also don't think that you should plan so hard that you then struggle when things don't work out, because things always work out slightly differently to the way we expect them to be, but that's not always a bad thing. So I think planning's good, where you know that you've got a general plan of how certain things are going to go there, who's going to be helping you, and how you can be accountable to yourself, but still make sure you've got time for self-care, for taking time off, for switching off, for just doing nothing, but for learning, for improving yourself, for doing other things, because I think it's very easy to get overwhelmed. But again, if you've got some type of a plan, and I'd definitely say, again, don't go over the top with planning, because my dad brought me up to have a plan A, B, C, D, and when these things don't start going right, I am someone that would hugely stress. But again, I'm starting to learn that even if those things don't happen the way that you think they're going to happen, it's still opening doors for a future you didn't even realise you were going to have. And I keep looking at myself and going, future me is going to be so grateful for the little things I'm doing. So I'm going to do those things now, because I'm getting even closer to being that future me that I am planning to be, that I am looking at doing. And again, life can change. My goal in life at 15 was to have a dessert bar and to be able to work from anywhere in the world, 15, 16. I am now not even 30, I can work from anywhere in the world, and I got the chance to have a dessert bar and I chose not to do that, which is wild. So again, going back to, maybe you've achieved everything you were supposed to achieve in your life, but you just need to learn to enjoy it. I'm looking at this year as, how do I look at the life I've got now, be grateful for the freedom I have, practice gratitude, but use these tips I've got in terms of mindset, delegation, planning, to help myself even more, to boost my life even more, so that the things that I'm doing really well, they just benefit me more. So yeah, that's really exciting. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed these 3 tips. And if you want some more, have a look at my TikTok, Chikunwef, or yeah, just have a look at, oh, actually, ask me for more. I can give you more on here. We can do a part 2. But yeah, we will end with my win of the week. My win of the week. So the weekend, we spent the whole weekend in bed. Again, because G's injured, we watched movies, watched TV. Like I said, we had HelloFresh, so I cooked, created content, did little bits, but most of the weekend was just in bed, just relaxing, and it was great. So yeah, in terms of wins of the week, that was a great start. Yeah, but otherwise, thank you for watching, subscribing, liking, commenting, listening as always, and I will see you guys next week.